and all of the people on the front line who are delivering services for every one of us. That isn't to say face coverings are some special shield, but they are another element which add to the more important measures I've just mentioned. Remember, it is these simple things that make you your own front line of defence against COVID-19. We need to hold firm and stay safe. Workplace clusters. In recent weeks, we have seen a small number of manageable outbreaks of COVID-19 in individual workplaces in the retail, construction and hospitality sectors. These clusters have all been managed well and successfully contained. However, if these clusters become larger or more frequent, they could represent a real risk to public health, and they will place a great strain on the resources of the Health Service Executive. Therefore, I want to appeal to employers, to employees and the public today. I'm asking employers to look again at the Return to Work Safely protocol and make sure that all the necessary measures are in place and are still being adhered to, and that complacency hasn't set in over recent weeks. I'm also asking employees to continue to play your part by prioritising your safety and taking every measure you can to protect yourself and your colleagues. In particular, remember, you still need to keep a physical distance from each other at all times. Even if your colleagues seem healthy, they could be carrying the virus. And as I've said before, the final ask is of the public. Many transport and retail workers have been on the front line since the beginning of COVID-19, and we have all relied on them. So let's play our part as well. As a society, we need to know the symptoms of COVID-19, and when we see them, we have to report them. This week, GPs are reporting that they are seeing increasing cases and that they're referring more and more people for testing. The thing to remember is that's what's supposed to happen. The fact that we have access to testing, that we can spot clusters and track symptoms, that we are learning about the virus, all of this shows the system is working and we are making progress. However, the system does not work where people do not report or delay in reporting their symptoms. When this happens, it puts not only the person, but everyone around them at risk. So if you're feeling unwell, if you have a high temperature, if you have a cough of any description, if you feel short of breath, or if you feel you've had a change in your taste or smell, you need to notify your GP so they can arrange testing for you. Your GP is not there to judge you, they're there to help. Getting a test is how you keep your family, friends and colleagues safe. Catching the virus is incredibly easy, as we all know. It's highly infectious. Sometimes people will be unlucky and they will catch COVID despite taking preventive action. So there's no shame in catching the COVID. What matters is that if you think you have the virus, you let it be known so you can get the care you need and we can figure out who else might be at risk. The COVID-19 Tracker app. We are pleased to see that the HSE's COVID Tracker Ireland app has been chosen as one of 2 global open source projects by the Lennox Foundation Public Health Initiative in a global effort to help suppress the COVID-19 pandemic and share technology solutions. It's a huge endorsement of the work carried out by the team behind the COVID Tracker app. The app is now available in global app and play stores. This means anyone living and working in Ireland that has a Google or Apple account in another country can now download the app and play their part in helping to suppress the virus. We're also encouraging anyone travelling to Ireland from other locations to download and install the app while they are here so they can become part of the Irish contact tracing community. Remember, the COVID Tracker app will play an important part in helping everyone to stay safe and protect each other and support our contact tracing and testing operations. Downloading and installing the app takes 2 minutes. It's a simple and effective way that you can help the fight against the virus, protecting your family, yourself, your friends, and many people you don't even know. COVID vaccine. There's been much talk of a vaccine and speculation around when will be available. We are actively monitoring all potential mechanisms available to procure vaccine stocks as soon as it becomes available. And Ireland has signed an expression of interest letter with 2 separate international mechanisms, a joint EU approach to COVID-19 vaccine procurement, and that's intended to ensure a coordinated action at European level to protect health and achieve an optimal management of COVID-19 through vaccination, and the COVAX initiative, Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator. That's a new global collaboration to accelerate development, production and equitable access to the COVID-19 diagnostics, therapeutics and vaccines. Business then. The temporary wage subsidy scheme. Almost 68,000 employers are now registered with revenue for the temporary wage subsidy scheme. An estimated 415,000 employees are currently being supported by the scheme, having received a subsidy in their most recent pay period. Today, revenue has generated further payments to employers under the scheme of £22.7 million. These payments will be in the bank accounts of the majority of respective employers tomorrow, and the cumulative value of payments made to employers under the scheme is now over £2.1 billion. The pandemic unemployment payment. This week, approximately 313,800 people who were unemployed last week received their weekly payment under the COVID-19 pandemic unemployment payment scheme. This is a reduction of approximately 31,800 on the number of people paid last week. This payment was made on 21st of July to their nominated bank account or post office, and the overall value of the weekly payment is in the region of 97 million. This is a decrease of approximately 100,000 people over the last 2 weeks, and almost 50% since the peak, which reached 598,000 on the 5th of May. In total, approximately £2.9 billion has been paid up to and including the 21st of July. Last week, approximately 21,800 people in receipt of the pandemic unemployment payment closed their claim because they were returning to work. Approximately 13,100 of these received their last unemployment payment this week because they were unemployed in the payment week. Since the start of reopening, approximately 258,000 people have closed their claim as they have returned to work. If you're returning to work today, you should close your claim as you return to work. And if you're starting work later in the week, you should close your claim on the day you return to employment. To close your employment claim, you should log on to gov.ie. Business supports. The take-up of support measures to assist businesses during the pandemic continues to grow. Applications for the Restart Grant, which can be made through local authorities, have now risen to 42,766 applications, with over 31,000 approved, resulting in over 128 million in grant payments to small businesses. And the trading online voucher continues to be popular, and to date, 7,600 applications have been made to the local enterprise offices for the scheme, with over 4,800 of these approved, to the value of 11.42 million. Community fora. The community call fora run by the local authorities are still operating, and last week they received approximately 530 calls and made approximately 300 follow-up calls to people who have been contacted by them. That's approximately 52,800 calls and 20,800 follow-up calls since the 31st of March. The helplines operate from 9 to 5, 7 days a week, and if you need help, you can find your local helpline number on gov.ie. Calls for Housing 2020. As Ireland continues to face the COVID-19 challenge, additional measures must be taken in order to provide safe and secure homes for all our communities. Yesterday, the Government launched a Call for Housing 2020, asking property owners and developers with vacant properties to make them available for use as social housing. A range of properties are needed, from one-bedroom properties to larger family homes, as well as homes that can be adapted for those with a disability and those that are suitable for older people. A range of options are available to property owners to assist them in providing social housing supports, including a secure letting arrangement through the long-term social housing leasing scheme. This scheme would provide owners with a stable return on their investment during an uncertain time for the property market. And more information on the Call for Housing 2020 is available on gov.ie. Arts and culture. I know that many older people in particular have been really feeling the brunt of the restrictions we've had to endure over the last number of months. Maybe you haven't been able to see your family or do your usual activities or even enjoy the normal day-to-day social interactions that we all need to avoid feeling isolated. This week, a $500,000 investment in a new programme of creative activity for older people was announced. The programme will be delivered by Creative Ireland through its national strategic partners and through local authorities. The Creativity in Older Age programme has been designed to counteract the side effects of the pandemic and rebuild the connections lost among those who've had to isolate themselves in recent months. The programme will begin immediately and will be rolled out over the next 18 months. It will include projects delivered by a host of bodies such as Age and Opportunity, the Irish Hospice Foundation and the Irish Museum of Modern Art, among many others. The projects will vary greatly in theme, from projects teaching music and dance to those designed to help articulate the feelings around death and bereavement. 25 creative projects for older people will be delivered with local authority partners around the country. And for more information on creativity in older age, go to gov.ie. Children and young people. It is the clear goal of government, in collaboration with all of the education stakeholders, to support the education system so that we can welcome our pupils and staff across our school communities back into a safe environment at the start of the new school year. Planning has been underway for a number of months with these stakeholders. Interim public health advice from the Health Protection Surveillance Centre is being used to inform all planning around returning to school. It sets out that there can be a different approach at different ages and stages. Draft COVID-19 plans for both primary and post-primary schools are being progressed. Detailed stakeholder engagement has been a critical factor in identifying the complex challenges that will arise for schools and school leaders. These challenges range across a number of areas, including the logistical challenges in meeting cleaning and physical requirements, curriculum and assessment matters, and the well-being and welfare of the school community on reopening. Engagement is now strongly focused on the shape and design of solutions that are both workable and supported by sufficient resources. A considerable financial support package to assist schools in reopening is currently being planned by government, with further details to be announced in the coming days. Today also sees the publication of a report on the implications of COVID-19 pandemic for policy in relation to children and young people. This issue has been one that the government has been tracking throughout COVID, and that has been clearly identified in the social impact reports informing the lifting of restrictions. The report published by the SRI today brings together existing and emerging Irish and international research on the effects of pandemic restrictions on children and young people. It concludes that school closures and the lack of face-to-face interaction with peers and broader family networks are having a direct effect on children and young people's lives. The impact of the pandemic will be felt the most by young people from disadvantaged backgrounds and those with special educational needs. Parental job loss and the possibility of long-term unemployment will also affect child well-being through greater stress on families. Reports such as this provide a valuable resource for government as we work to address the impacts of the crisis. It points to where we need to target responses and resources and informs our approach on how we can support children and young people through these unprecedented difficulties. Government has been very aware of these impacts, and that is why the Taoiseach has placed such an emphasis on reopening of schools as we try to balance the public health, social and economic risks of easing restrictions. International travel. Yesterday, the Cabinet agreed to change the travel advisory for a small number of locations to normal precautions. These locations are Malta, Finland, Norway, Italy, Hungary, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Cyprus, Slovakia, Greece, Greenland, Gibraltar, Monaco and San Marino. For further information on this, please see the Department of Foreign Affairs website. The overarching advice about overseas travel is still that staying at home is the safest thing to do. If you have to travel to any of the locations listed, if you have to travel to any other location than those listed, you will be asked to restrict your movements for 14 days. The passenger locator form will have to be filled in on arrival in Ireland, and processes are being strengthened for completion, follow-up, and to ensure that everyone arriving home knows what the public health advice is and how to know the symptoms. Prison service visitations. There have been no confirmed cases of COVID-19 among the prison population in Ireland. This is a testament to the hard work and the planning of our prison service, who implemented decisive safety measures in a timely and thoughtful way at the beginning of the pandemic. The prison population has cooperated and worked closely with the prison service to help keep prisons COVID-free. In the interests of safety of both prisoners and prison staff, physical visits to prisons were stopped in March. Although a system of online virtual visitation was put in place, this has nevertheless been a very difficult sacrifice for prisoners and their families throughout the past 4 months. Following weeks of hard work on the part of the prison service, physical visits to prisons will be introduced on a carefully phased basis starting this week. All visits will be conducted in line with the public health advice, visitor temperatures will be checked on arrival, and they will be provided with personal protective equipment to wear during visits. No physical contact will be allowed. Sneeze screens will be in place in all visiting rooms, and a reduced number of visitors will be facilitated each day. Physical visits will continue to be supplemented by the video visitation system, which will continue to be in place. Immigration permissions. In the past week, it was announced that immigration permissions due to expire between the 20th of July and the 20th of August will be automatically extended for 1 month. This includes people in Ireland on short stay visas and those whose permissions have already been extended by previous notices issued on the 20th of March and the 20th of May. These measures are put in place to reassure people who are worried about their status in the state that their legal status in the country will continue to be maintained. It is intended this will be the final temporary extension of immigration permission. However, the situation will be kept under active review as matters evolve in our national response to the COVID-19 pandemic. As I indicated previously, the registration office in Burkey in Dublin reopened this Monday, the 20th of July, for first-time registrations on an appointment-only basis, and priority will be given to those seeking to register for the first time. All other renewals in the Dublin area are now being processed online. This will make the process of registration renewals easier for thousands of people every year and will significantly reduce the number of people who need to attend the Burkey registration office in person. And finally, these past few months have been difficult. Whether you're in the thick of it on the front line and feeling exhausted, or at home feeling frustrated or lonely, maybe you're still out of work, maybe you're worrying about your business, maybe you're just fed up. The important thing is to remember you're not alone on this journey. We are all having to accept some degree of uncertainty about what is going to happen next. There aren't easy answers to the situation we find ourselves in here in Ireland or across the world. But we are planning ahead. We are monitoring really closely everything that is happening to try to find the right balance of responses and to keep you informed as best we can. We're all in this together. Thank you.